Arknights viewership is falling. Let's fix it. I don't know if it is. Is it? Obviously, the game's been out for, what, 5 years now? So it would make sense to me that it's probably not going to be on the upwards trajectory. That's kind of logical, I think. It's like when sometimes when I see people talking about Google Trends with like Genshin, I'm like, bro, the game's been out 5 years. What do you expect? It's kind of be insane if it was actually gaining traction at the moment. But yeah, let's have a look. I'm assuming we're probably going to be talking about EN or global here rather than CN. But yeah, let's have a look, man, because I do like Cookie. He makes good videos, so let's get into this one. Arknights viewership is falling. Let's fix it. Let's see what's going on then, guys.
Arknights content is not as good as it used to be, and that's okay. Let's talk about the current state of Arknights content creation, what it was in the past, then what's wrong with it, and what can we do about it. Let's first address a growing sentiment that Arknights is having, both from the inside and outside, and that is people are looking into Arknights and saying, Arknights might be dying, because there doesn't seem to be as many people interested in the game. The friends that you used to have playing Arknights might not be playing Arknights.
Obviously, I know you can't look at global the revenue charts, but I think it does all right on the revenue charts, all right? Which I know. Take it with a pinch of salt, I know, but it does, right?
Anymore. And if you look at the past EN live streams viewership, the 4.5 anniversary and 5th year anniversary live streams were a lot lower than the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year. But this wouldn't be the best indicator to tell just how many players there are within the Arknights scene. If we see the number of followers on Twitter for Arknights Global, there's still a ton of people following Arknights news. And if we look at one of the biggest Arknights content creator we have, Killstin V, who is still serving you wonderful guides, his guides today are just as watched as it used to be in the past, meaning to say that there are still a lot of players following the content and trying to clear content as quickly as possible, maybe to move on to other games. And
I think potentially, even though I'm a bit of a masochist and want to do everything the hard way in Arknights, I could imagine that like guide type content probably would do well for quite a while. You look at a game like Wuthering Waves, guide content really doesn't do well because you just don't need guide content for a game like Wuthering Waves or a game like Zenly Zone Zero. They just don't require guide content really. But a game like Arknights, I do feel like that there's definitely a lot more room for a content creator to potentially do quite well. Or at least have been doing quite well in like the guide slash sort of like creative ways to play kind of space.
Just farm as they need to. As we all know, Arknights China server is the one holding the fort for the game. If we look at the combined revenue of this year from January, February and March, the revenue can still compete with the likes of Zenless and Watering. Of course, these statistics are just iOS and Android, not accounting for PC. So these games in the PC clients are obviously doing a lot better.
Issue never dies.
But even so, being up there amongst the gacha games where all the other gacha games are below is already a significant position for Arknights. And having at least 10 million USD a month is not a small value at all. They still have other revenue streams like concerts, on-site events, merchandise, as well as collaborations, all leading up to them still being a very...
I think it's evident that they've done very well, right? Otherwise, Enfield wouldn't be happening, and Hypergryph definitely wouldn't be in a position to self-publish globally as well. So Arknights has for sure done its job. It's not only done its job in allowing Enfield to be made as well, but you've also had this vast amount of music, concerts, all the stuff that's come up with the game as well. You know, this is a lot of stuff surrounding the game, you know, which all requires money. So they've obviously been making a decent enough turnover for the last 5 years to be able to reinvest this money in different ways as well. So, you know, like, obviously I know we're talking about literally more recent stuff, but in regards to like, you know, it's obviously done really well, hasn't it?
Very well-to-do company. So Arknights is not dead, at least Arknights CN is not dead. If we look at the revenue, however, for the global space, we've kind of maintained about the same amount, where month by month we're only earning about 1 million.
Hey, end of the day, if you can be 5 years after a product launch, especially in the gaming space, and still be just like kind of just cruising along, you've done good. Like say, in this space, man, if you're past 2 years and you've been profitable, it's been a good business model,
2 million
you know?
USD. It still contributes to the overall revenue of the entire game, but in a sense, it's a respectable amount for the number of players that we have. We definitely have less players in global as compared to the China space, but even so, this is a happy enough number that I think YoStar...
That makes sense. Like, being a tower defense game, it's, again, it's kind of like undersells the game. I don't like tower defense games. I really like this game. It makes it niche. The visual style as well makes it niche. You've got a different audience. I know things are changing now, especially in SEA, China, more consoles, more PCs. People want a more, are starting to desire more AAA kind of gaming style, shall we say. And I don't even mean just in that Arknights, you know, well, I'm more talking from a visuals point of view, right? I think a lot of people will look at Arknights visually and be like, yeah, not for me, you know, not for me. I'm not really into that sort of chibi style 2D kind of gameplay, really. You know, the fact that there's a lot of like anthropomorphic kind of characters as well. It's never really been my bag, but I've softened, I guess. I don't like furry stuff, but I do like Arknights characters. I really like Zenless Zone Zero's character as well. So, hey man, maybe I'm being converted, man.
And Hypergryph has been keeping. Of course, they would love if the number was a lot bigger. But that then comes back to the question of, if the number of players have stayed the same, that means AK isn't really growing. We've been stagnant. But yet at the same time, the other phenomenon that is actually happening is that the viewership of AK feels like it's falling. Let's finally discuss about the space of the current Arknights content creation. If we look at who's around today,
I think both of those to be expected, though. You know, again, I've spoken about this before. There's not many games that can be still behemoths a decade, 2 decades later, right? There's only very few games that last that long, for one. But to like have growth post launch window or post first couple of years, you know, usually you see games like Fortnite, you like your things like your Call of Duties, you know, your World of Warcrafts, your CS:GOs, you know, these games that have been around for a while. They come out and then they have like this continual growth for a set amount of years, and then even with those, it drops off, and then you kind of get to like a maintenance level, don't you? Which that maintenance level usually gets lower and lower each year because it just happens, you know. Even the original player base, if you hold on to that, people get older, people have kids, they have responsibilities, they move on to other stuff, don't they? So I think, you know, because I said this before, like when Saint Tontas was trying to use Google Trends as a way to argue that Genshin was in a downtrend and Wuthering Waves wasn't. And it's like, bro, one game came out like 5 months ago. This was a couple of months ago. One game came out nearly 5 years ago. It's like, I think it's a bit disingenuous to expect a game that's 5 years old to still be on the uptrend. For the most part, anyway. Most games just aren't capable of sustaining that kind of expansion, are they really?
We have Killston V and Akagen still providing you guys wonderful guides to use. Then there is also people who's giving a bit more of the sweaty and hardcore content. So that would be people like Shield and Stone telling you guys all the operators that you should look forward to. Then we also have those that are doing a little bit more of the fun stuff like Mind Moon. Or if you still want news and you want a little bit more of the niche stuff like what's the next shop operator, what's the next farming stuff that will happen, you have NFC Ian. There's also the familiar Frostbite who's giving you on-time news of everything Arknights.
So I've watched some Frostbite and we've watched some Super in with that. I think that's all I've really watched in the space, though, really. That's like a bit more game orientated stuff itself. Most of the stuff I've consumed, really, it's been pretty much lore and music, hasn't it?
Shio is tanking really well with all of the live streams. Then you have Dragon GJY as well, who's giving you all the details of the operators, breaking down their stats and how to use them. There's all these sort of peoples, but there is a little bit of a common trend that you might or might not have noticed, and that is we've kind of lost a vibe in Arknights. That is, we don't have the same hyping people or the people who's doing sort of community engagement type of content creators. The closest people we have today that I might describe as such is going to be Dr. Silvergun and Supa. The other ones adding more of the fun stuff and igniting discussions within the Arknight space. But we've lost a lot of these sort of people. If we look at the previously biggest AK content creators we used to...
I'm not gonna lie, I think part of this though is down to just a shift in maybe it's more of an EN thing, a shift in content anyway. And hey, look, I'm doing it right now. I react a lot. I make slop content. You know, from time to time, I make more scripted videos, theory crafting videos, news videos, potential lore videos, my viewpoints. You know, I spend a bit of time, I edit the video, I script it out, and we make a proper video. But I think there's been a kind of a shift towards, like, you know, there's a lot of react content and some people would argue drama, which sometimes it definitely is, but you know, like a little bit more discussions around the industry as a whole, right? And games choices and what they're doing, and a lot of the content leans towards that and nowadays. And this isn't just an Arknights thing. If you go and watch, you know, We're content, you know, ZZZ content, a lot of it is like that. Probably more so in the Wuthering Waves space, to be fair. Like, that seems to be the predominant space that does it. Genshin still feels like it does have a lot of, like, kind of dedicated CCs that just make kind of like, original content for the game, if I'm honest. I still feel like Genshin's doing really well in that regard. I feel like across the space, though, there definitely has been a bit of a meta shift, if you will, in the content creator space, I guess.
We have people like Yi, Viper, and Box2. They were all the ones that's really engaging the community, and when they all left for all the various reasons, we can definitely feel a dip in terms of maybe say the quality of the content that is coming out in AK. Content creators do have a big influence in the game. When these creators leave, whether or not players are watching them, seeing them go gives people the impression that, oh, they are not really enjoying the game anymore, and maybe that means I wouldn't be feeling too good as well, and therefore I leave. So having a positive content creation environment is of great importance to a game's health. It is not of utmost importance. A game can still survive and go on without any content creators around.
It's just super drama.
Still a lot
the game Live This Song is amazing. It is. It really is.
Exactly watch a
I think it's a
YouTuber or streamer.
It's a definite success.
Just play Arknights because they love the game and they don't really interact with any of the online community. Maybe they're just
obviously sports is a little bit different, but it's still the same thing. PGR, a lot of people shit on PGR. Niche game, nobody plays that, nobody spends money on that. But it obviously did grow enough where they were able to start developing a new game, Wuthering Waves, that it obviously did them enough where a company like Tencent were like, ooh, we want to give you money, And it's obviously Arknights has done Hypergryph enough for them to create Enfield and then self-publish it globally as well. They're obviously in a lot better position now than there was 5 years ago. So that to me, that's a success. If your building can business can jumpstart another bigger, potentially better, more global business, then you've been doing well. You've been doing well.
Themselves or having just a few real life friends sharing the same game with them. But without these content creators being around, it can mean that a game won't be as prosperous as it could be. A vibrant YouTube Twitch space can allow for more players to get interested, try out the game, and enjoy the game just as much as a lot of you are. But we are a long way from getting to that sort of situation. It could be that with Enfield, more creators come into the game, gets interested about Arknights, and try Arknights as well. But with
happened for me. If it wasn't for the Enfield beta, I might not be here now streaming Arknights and, well, talking about Arknights.
Without Enfield, I already do hope that the content creation space can start improving even from now. In truth, a game's popularity shouldn't be reliant on content creators. Content creators are a volatile resource. They can make whatever sort of content they want, whether positive or negative. They can come and they can go. There is basically difficulty in
We're fickle.
controlling what type of content comes out from a content creator. So games shouldn't be 100% buying into it. But it's not to say that they shouldn't work on it. If you see the likes of many games, they try to sponsor content creators to make stuff, even though that might not be the most genuine messaging that it gives to the players. But there are also games that do things like content creator programs. So Hoyoverse does that, and Arknights does that as well, which we're gonna discuss about it in depth in just.
I don't know if it'd necessarily be the best move for Hypergryph at the moment. No, don't get me wrong. Working with CCs can be an incredibly low-cost way to get your game out organically to a massive audience, and it usually has a real turnover. You're a lot more likely to go download a game from watching somebody stream it or play it than you are from it being advertised on on an app or like the start of a video or something like that, because you get to see, you get to understand things a little bit. It's a little bit more relatable, isn't it? And it can be a lot cheaper as well, depending on the size of the creator, for these people to do this. And like I say, the turnover is really good as well. But I feel like for Arknights now, I don't know if that return on investment would be great. I think really if Hypergryph were smart, and this is coming from somebody who's absolutely fell in love with Arknights recently, I think those resources would be better off kept to the side for Enfield, if I'm honest, because we're probably going to see that. I would assume you're going to see lots of sponsorship deals, creator type programs going on for Enfield. I think it'd be odd if that didn't happen, and I suspect we'll probably see quite a bit of that when it comes out.
Just a little while. The biggest effort that a game should be doing is their marketing. The advertisements that they put forth, the events that they hold, the online and on-site
This is one thing
stuff,
Wuthering Waves really struggled with for a while.
Must be tremendous. And we can discuss about the marketing tactics that Yosta is doing in another video. But for this one, let's discuss about the Content Creator Program. Content Creator Program in Arknights has been around for a long time now. It's been more than 2 years running, and I need to put forth, I am a part of this program. But the disclaimer is that there are some things that were told as content creators to not tell to the public. I'm not very certain why this is supposed to be very sensitive, but basically the details of the program I'm not allowed to express clearly. But I'll briefly tell you what is basically seen in the websites that are available. So, content creators are told beforehand that by joining this program, they'll be able to get monthly rewards. These rewards are in the form of in-game rewards. As to what are the rewards or how much, I won't be able to say that to you guys. But with these materials, they will be able to better build their account. That means that their videos are supposedly going to be better since they're more up to date, they're keeping up with the best units in the content creation space in order to produce good content for everybody. There are other
it's a good way to upsell characters as well. If you see somebody with all the good stuff, you know, and how fun content can look and how maybe easily a clear can be done with a particular character, it's a lot more likely to make somebody go, I want that. I need that, you know?
incentives from joining this program as well, like getting merchandise from YoStar especially, which is a very nice gift to receive from them, and also having a
YoStar,
space to communicate
hit
with
me
other
up.
content creators. Which, looking towards the past 2 years, I would say that among us content creators, there isn't that much activeness in terms of how much we discuss our ideas. Let me mention how I personally use the content creator program, which my answer to it is, I've kind of never used it. So, I am a part of this content creator program, but as soon as I heard that
Bro, that's like me with Ubisoft. I don't know even if I still am, but like I got invited to the content creator program for Ubisoft, like to get early access to particular things, right? Benefits from it. I've never used it. Never used it. I really should have, but yeah, Ubisoft sucks anyway now, so you know, there's no desire to.
one of the biggest rewards that I'll get from it is in-game rewards. I basically just surfaced to YoStar that I kind of don't need these rewards because I'm playing on my own personal account, and with all of these rewards, it can mean that yes, I can super build some characters and obtain them better, but that's not really what I need. I kind of play like every other player does. I just loyally pay for the packs that I want if I do want them, and if not, I just use the resources that I've been
We stand a humble CC.
farming so that I match with what an average player is doing. So in terms of tallying the rewards with the type of content that I choose to produce, having these don't matter to me. And instead, one of the things that I started surfacing to YoStar is
I think this is a good way to do things as well. I'm not saying you shouldn't do, you know, take advantage of those things. But it's like, you know, when you see some CCs who have account managers, which, hey, I know some companies don't like that. I am not judging somebody for having an account manager, but I always think sometimes when they start giving their opinions on the game, which is fair to do, I'm not saying they can't either, but I think you'll always have a little bit of a rose-tinted view of things, because if you've got somebody doing the grind for you, you know, the things getting nitty-gritty in the trenches, the unenjoyable parts, the bad rolls, and then going back into the same content that's the typical gacha slop of farming for materials. If you're not having to do that, you can have a definitely different experience of a video game than somebody else who's not doing that. So sometimes having these perks, if you will, are great, and they can help the content creator, because at the end of the day, what's the content creator's trying to do? They're trying to run a business, if you will, and entertain people. But it also definitely does give them a different version. They're playing a different version of the game, basically, aren't they? You know? So I do respect that. And again, it's not that I don't respect people who take advantage of it. I'm not saying that at all. It's nice to see. I like that. Like, I want to play the game how everybody else is playing it, because that way then I can really give my viewpoint on how the game can be better, because you can't it's hard to give your viewpoint on it. I'm not saying you can't, but it's harder to give your viewpoint on how a game can improve if you're not in the trenches. You know what I mean?
whether or not these rewards could be
Elon Musk
given to
mentioned.
other people. Like, could I have them and then be able to maybe do giveaways on my stream, which they then said that there isn't such a capability. That made me quite sad, and as a result, I kind of barely received anything from them in the past 2 years. I actually just went to check the date of this program, and no, it's not been 2 years of this program, it's been more than 3 years. So there's 3 years worth of in-game stuff that I refuse to collect by myself. By the way, I am a little bit of a special case. These in-game rewards could surely be helping some other content creators in terms of making their content. If it means that they can show you guys what a level 90 character can do, if it means that they
Definitely would benefit guide makers and stuff, like, you know? It's like early access servers. It does benefit guide makers, doesn't it? It allows them to get access to characters early, get access to max stuff, you know, experience what the potential of something is, and then pass that on to the audience, doesn't it?
can show you all the best units lined up in one screen. That's very good for all of these creators. So
Bro,
it
that
is not
Elon Musk
to say that
PO2
in-game
stuff was
rewards is a bad
hilarious.
thing. I do see some benefit.
The Path of
into it.
Exile
And while, of course,
accounts,
giving
and
maybe
he
things
just
like pure
didn't look like he'd
money
ever
would
played
be
the game
better to a
before.
content creator, but you could also say that for these content creators,
Bro, the best thing was how slow. Well, he was literally dragging items as well. How slow he was dragging items. Then he kept trying to click on that one bit of content that he hadn't got unlocked. That was hilarious.
of this pure money could be converted into in-game rewards in the first place.
Top 1%
so
as
it
well.
is already very expensive to give money straight up to a content creator. So I can fully understand a company saying that our next best alternative is to give you things from the game itself. By the way, all those sponsorships that you see big
Look like he never
content
touched
creators
the
do,
mouse for
C.VA
real.
or the VTubers, that wouldn't be in-game rewards. That is definitely pure money. So basically, the monetary stuff are giving to these bigger names in order to put the name of AK out, whereas all the loyal AK creators are not exactly receiving this sort of benefits. Again, I still think
It's just business though, isn't it, that? You know, as a business, I always look at it like this as well. I see like when some people are like, oh, why does the business give that stuff to the people who are not the loyal customers? And so it's like when businesses do offers for new customers, it's because at the end of the day, if you've got, let's say you've got a potential 10 customers, right? You've got 6 loyal customers. Are you going to offer potential benefits to them? Now, that might encourage them to spend more, but are you going to try and court the other 4? You know, you're probably going to try and court the other 4, because then if you could turn 6 customers into 9 customers, you're up 3 customers. And like, you know, it's like that's why a lot of big YouTubers who are tourists, you know, who might not even really play a particular genre of game, get access to stuff because they've got a big audience that is not involved in that game, could potentially come over to that game, and it's just a bigger reach anyway, isn't it?
it's fine. If this is the way that they can manage, then let's go with it. But yes, that's the content creator program back then, where all you needed to do is to produce videos for Arknights. There wasn't that much of a requirement of your videos needing a certain number of views. All
I heard
they
that,
wanted
Jerry.
was you to produce as many videos as you can so that you keep the space going. Which sounds like an okay plan, but as we can see, with the content creation space going down and people choosing to leave,
Then you were down 5 customers because the little one left because you burned them out. I don't know. I think most of the time that doesn't happen though, does it? Usually the loyal customers will stick around. And usually in business, it's about, that's why new customers are always important, because you're always eventually going to lose some customers. Well, depending on the business you're in, sometimes, you know, you're in a business that's going to give you more lifetime value and longer term customers. But specifically in the entertainment business as well, or the game business, or movies, or whatever it might be. Of course, you want to try and attract your core audience, but your objective is always to get more people through the door. If you, out of that initial 6 people, you lose 2 of them. If you bring in 3, you're up 1. If you keep doing that, you're always, you know, it might be 1 step back, but 2 steps forward kind of thing. It sucks, you know, it sucks as a customer when you've been paying for something for years. And I don't know, like, let's say your internet bill's a set price, and then you find out, oh, new customers are getting it £20 cheaper than me. Most of the time you don't leave the internet because it's just a big hassle to do so. And usually with a game, you're enjoying the game anyway. If they're not treating you badly, you kind of ignore that somebody might be getting softened up a little bit and buttered up a little bit. It's just business, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's all about return on investment, risk versus reward, isn't it? And businesses will always risk if they think that there's a bigger opportunity there.
leave the space, clearly the program wasn't doing the best things. Back then, the requirement to join the content creation program was quite simple. All you needed to do was to have 2,000 followers on either YouTube or Twitch and have 5 videos uploaded on that channel. So it's not that astronomically big of a number. It is okay, but you still need a somewhat of a size within the space in order to be part of this program. As time goes on,
Makes
you
sense.
could see a little bit of the panic within YoStar, because in the last year or 2 years, we basically saw a big flurry of this
Where's Cookie from? Is he from Singapore? Is it Singapore where he's from?
video content creation contest, where basically their idea was to reward content creators. Don't have to be a part of the program. All you need to do is submit your video during this particular event, and if you're the most voted video, you'll get rewards. It's again a way to incentivize people to be making videos. But clearly you can tell they are feeling the heat, that as if there are a lot less people who's producing good content for the space. Was it an effective solution? It's pretty hard for me to say, but after many periods of lull, 3 to 4 years later, we finally get an updated content creator program. For those people who are already part of it, they don't have to rejoin, but for new entrants, the requirements this time is a lot lower surprisingly, or maybe not so much of a surprise, where if you want to join,
makes sense, 5 years later, if the views are down a little bit, it's probably better to be a little bit less stringent on allowing people in. Again, like I say, there could be a myriad of reasons why all this happens, but I think at the end of the day, it's just time sensitive, isn't it?
your YouTube subscriber count just needs to be at 500, or your Twitch follow counts needs to be at 300. So much less than when the first content creator program happened. We can look into both the positives and the negatives. The positive is that, well, more people can join the program. It means that this space can finally grow a lot bigger than it is. But the negative could be that, are they in that desperate need of more content creators here? And that's...
You'll probably get a lot of people just joining for the sake of it as well, which is not a problem. Not judging people who do that, but like, will that up the content, Are these people, oh, I really love this game. Oh, cool, I can get this. Or is it, oh, sweet, let's try and jump on that kind of that bandwagon because I can actually get in it now kind of thing.
Why the requirements have gone down. We're really in a hurry to make this space so much better. I leave that judgment to you, but let's look at the current benefits of this content creator program.
You want to join for the merch?
Remain the same, where you're still receiving rewards every month.
Because let me put it like this, if a tree only ever grows higher and higher without taking care of its roots or spreading those roots, what do you think will happen? Little customers of the roots. I'm not disagreeing with you from as somebody who's loyal to particular things, I'd like my internet. I'd like to get the access to the prices that new customers get to my internet. I ain't going to get rid of my internet and then wait a couple of weeks to become a new customer again to get the cheaper price because that's far too much hassle. And, let's say a new player to a game is getting a benefit that I didn't get on launch. I'm not going to stop playing the game because I didn't get that benefit. Or if I'm a content creator, if new people are getting into the system that I had to work a little bit harder to get into it easier, it's not going to stop me doing that. Now, it might stop some people, but again, this is one of those things, it's a cost of doing business. If your idea is always to protect your customer base, and that's the only thing you care about, it's great for the customers, awesome to be a customer, but that business will probably inevitably disappear because when those customers leave, die, whatever happens, they haven't been looking to try and bring new customers in, have they? You know what I mean? So like, I understand what you're saying. From the customer's point of view, it's great, but from a business point of view, you're always looking to go bigger and better kind of thing. And, if you really want to have a small kind of like mom and pop type business, then that's a perfectly great way to run your business. And you're going to have happy customers. But I think conglomerates and big corporations and big entities don't get big because they look after the original base of customers, do they? It's just life, innit? It's just it might not be how it should be, but it's how it is, isn't it?
Receiving special merchandise.
End of the day, it's just a risk and reward. If you're shitting on your loyal customers to get new customers, then you're going to have a problem. But this is where like you tweak it just enough that the customer who's been with you for a while doesn't notice any difference. But the new customers are encouraged to come over. Hey, we're doing 20% off. It's like at the gym, I'll get to a gym, right? I pay a set fee every month. But every now and again, they do sign-up bonuses where it's like, oh, if you sign up now, you get your first so many months free and then 50% off. I'd love to get that. I ain't going to leave the gym because I ain't getting that because I wasn't getting that anyway. There's a bit of a balance there, isn't there, like?
They will be more dedicated in terms of helping creators create their content, where they will be releasing things like media kits in order for content creators to use. It's a little bit of a surprise that it takes them 5 years later in order to give such things, but media kit can be great because it means that you receive high quality videos, you receive high quality images that you can use for the videos. So wonderful resource for a content creator to have. Then the other big change is that you have a chance to collaborate with the EN server. This one is
cool.
A little bit vague. Even I'm not very certain what they mean.
It's cool. It's cool though. Bit more connection for EN content creators.
Does it mean that we could
honestly, my impression of Yosar's probably over the years. As somebody who's kind of not really dabbled with Yosar too much, I can't say you're not alone. I've heard a lot of people say exactly the same thing. You know what I mean? Exactly, BS commissions. Exactly. That's exactly the reason why. Like I say, business models might not sound the most moral thing, but at the end of the day, if it works, it works, doesn't it? And it works because this is how most businesses grow, really, especially in this sort of industry. I'm not even specifically talking about Arknights now.
Official videos, their official live streams, or if we have our own projects, are they more keen on taking it on? One of the things that was
agree, Mr. Clever. I think it's a really good thing that the Hypergryph are going to be globally publishing through Griffline. I think it's brilliant. They've got to, because probably the reason why they went with Yostar initially is they just didn't have the capability when they first launched to do it. That's usually why companies go to publishers. They either don't have the knowledge, the connections, or the money, you know. And different regions can be helped out by an international global publisher, can't it? But it's really good now that they've obviously got themselves into a position where they can do that, and they've chose to do that as well. And I think it should hopefully, as long as they don't cock it up, it should hopefully be better for us all, right? Should be a good thing.
Creators had dedicated projects, like for instance Viper. Yostar had a really hard time in terms of trying to support this program, whether in the form of sponsoring some prizes or giving some materials that could be used. If there is a difference right now, this can be great for a lot of the content creators who have projects that they wish to host, like in terms of holding content creator game shows or making some kind of fun little animation. If Yostar can provide all these sort of resources, it would be brilliant. One of my saddest, biggest memory back then as a content creator, and while Viper was still around, was when I went to Anime Expo. So at that point in time, we surfaced to Yostar that we would be visiting Anime Expo, and if there was a chance for us to maybe have...
I agree with that, Virgon. I agree with that. They probably signed up to a potential contract that might cost them too much to attempt to do that. So you see that stuff happen sometimes. All of a sudden, a publisher changed hands, contracts ended. He might just a publisher might want to get out. Contractors, developers are in the position where they can buy a contractor out, kind of thing, or another third party comes in, just like how it was with Kuro, with Hero and Tencent. Tencent came in and bought their shares. But I suppose as well, at the end of the day as well, a lot of business contracts come into this, doesn't it? And sometimes it's a lot more expensive to try and get out of those things than it is to just suck it up and continue on. Like,
we have a little segment just because of the fact that we're there and we would love to meet people who have watched us before and be able to interact with you guys. It would have been a brilliant opportunity. And me as a Singaporean, it's not all the time that I get to travel to America. In fact, it was a very expensive trip to have gone there on my own. But Yostar couldn't arrange for such a thing to happen, and then we tried to host it ourselves. We still got to meet some of you, but that would have been one of the last few times that you got to meet Viper, because it was the last event that he ever attended before him being away as a content creator. If it means being invited to offline events...
Because I don't know that content creator. I thought he was about to say some really depressing shit then, that something had happened to him. Do just stop making content.
Be a part of the program, we can join in the festivities and be publicized so that more people who don't know of these...
Yeah, that's what I say. That's sometimes why they lean into these publishers, because they've got that ability to do that, haven't they, T?
Content creators, they'll be able to see them for the first time, go into their content and become a viewer for themselves. That would be the wonderful sort of way for Yostar to truly be supporting their content creators. But all of these has never happened in the past 5 years, which then makes it the question of whether they can start doing it from this year onwards. These are the sort of suggestions that I have when it comes to things when
I don't think many of that will happen personally.
Content creators. And as I've mentioned as well, I'm still not collecting
Prioritize
any
IRL in
rewards.
school.
But
Respect
if
it,
I have
respect
the
it.
opportunity to host my own little mini events that can incentivize
Just decided to
people
step
to
out.
watch
Hey.
more of my videos, to watch more of my
What does
streams,
it say?
where I can have a sort of resource pool of
When you're
maybe,
the
say,
hero, live long
monthly
enough to become the
cards,
villain or whatever it
maybe
is.
some of the materials, some gift codes in order to give to my viewers. That would be so amazing.
I respect it, man.
For me,
You know,
as a content creator.
life just moves on
Yostar
sometimes,
will
and
be
content
hoping for
creation's
more
just
views
not
generated
it
from
anymore.
content creators, because more views means more eyes onto the game, and more players are likely to come into the game and stay in the game. That is not a different goal from the content creators as well. We also want more views, because that means that we're performing better.
True.
And it can also mean earning a little more from content creation, whether as a hobby or a job. So if we are aligned within that goal, I do hope that Yostar can understand that in-game rewards might not be exactly the solution that content creators need. Some content creators could really use that, but for other content creators, the type of support that we need are more so in the form of things like publicity from them, the material support from them, and at the same time, being able to support us in the projects that we have. There are ways that we are all trying to keep people engaged in a video and a stream, and if Yostar can do that for us, that is truly the support system that we can be having. To those of you who are new and budding content creators,
I think as well, like, not even just that, like, it can be a real bridge to bridge the gap, Con. It can be a real bridging the gap of a content creator if a company really is savvy in how it uses a content creator. And I don't mean uses in the term of like, you know, how we hear about what some companies do with content creators, but like uses them as a way to really connect with the fan base. Because it doesn't matter what companies do, that connection is just never so relatable as how content creators can do it usually. Now, some companies are a little bit more base than others and they're a little bit better at it. There's no denying that. But you know what I mean? I think, and we've seen it over the last few years, companies have really started to understand now content creators are an amazing resource for them to use, but they're very underutilized in a lot of ways. You know, a lot of companies still are on that, well, let's just stick a sponsor. Let's just get this person to play this game or talk about this game for 10 minutes rather than actually using the streamer as a way for the company to like directly interact with the people in a myriad of different ways potentially.
And to a lot of the long-staying ones as well, if you are watching this, I do have advice for all of us. We do need to be more innovative in the way that we choose to create our content. I've always found it a very strange complaint.
Look, I make reaction content a lot of the time. Hey, look, I do make my own content from time to time. I do reviews. Previews. I do first impressions. You might not have seen it because like recently I've been doing a lot of Arknights and like learning stuff. I do actually scripted stuff as well. If you look back just before Christmas at my some of my Wuthering Wave stuff, you know, proper theory crafting, scripted, researched videos as well, which I was actually quite proud of some of those videos. I really like those videos. They didn't actually do insanely well. They did okay. But those are videos that I was actually proud of. But yeah, I admit it, man. A lot of my content slop.
When people are saying that AK doesn't have a lot of content, it's very difficult to make videos for it. When in truth, the game content that we have over here is one of the most that we've seen in the gacha game space, and even comparing to some other games as well. When we have so many different game modes, so many different events and side things that happen, it is crazy to say that AK has a lack of content when Hypergryph is always innovating what's the next thing to excite players. And yet at the same time, we don't have to reduce our videos to just operator guides, stage guides. There's a lot of different ways in order to make things engaging for the community. That is a challenge that I'm going to be facing now that I've chosen to be a full-time content creator myself. I've not been able to do that in the past 2 years due to the lack of time as a university student, but now that I'm out of it and I've graduated, I am willing to take on this sort of obstacle that I want to see what's the best way of keeping everybody on their toes whensoever waiting for the next stream or video. And I hope that you guys can have that same sort of spur as well, to realize that we can actually do so much more within the AK space, and if you're feeling alone as well, we can always work together to think what is the next big idea that we can come forth with. So that is the sort of advice that I'm giving with this video. I do hope that you guys have enjoyed this discussion.
I mean, that is a good point though. You know, look, that is a good point. That I think that's like, I think we've seen that with some content creators. Like, I can't say shit. I do a lot of, like I said, I react to stuff. Like, you know, seen some content creators in the Wuthering Wave space, like Kat, like where she actually acknowledged, like, I don't want to do so much of this, like, PvP, us versus them kind of content now. And I want to do more of the content that I want to make and that I'm happy to make. And, you know, they're definitely, like, as content creators, you know, and it's easy to fall into getting into drama, getting into PvP, because it gets a lot of eyes. People are interested in seeing two CCs. And though a lot of people say they're not, it does well, doesn't it? Two CCs going at each other, somebody calling somebody out, somebody saying this about a particular community or whatever it might be. It just it just happens, doesn't it? Like, and I suppose like the opposite to this, you sort of, I guess, a little bit with like Saint Ontas, you know, where dude went from like having a lot of like high quality scripted content specifically around the game to like more going into an orbit of content that surrounds the game, but it's more about discussing and critiquing other people's viewpoints, to the point sometimes when it went a little bit further than that, you know. It's easy to get into that. And like I say, I genuinely, at the end of the day, YouTube's YouTube. There's a lot of terrible things going on in the world. Somebody saying something bad about another content creator, well, there's levels, but you know, if they're just calling them out, or they're talking about a game, or they're roasting a community, or they're roasting a game, it's not that big of a deal, you know. It doesn't make me not respect a person or dislike a person, but it's just easy to get into, isn't it? You know, I think it's definitely easy to get into that kind of content. Most people can argue and call people out on BS and just get into drama. It's easy to get into, and it does well, doesn't it? So like it's hard as well, like, because content creation is symbiotic, isn't it? You know, the content creator creates it, of course, the viewer consumes it, but it's also symbiotic. You know, algorithms are dictated and dictate what we watch. You know, it's not totally one-sided, is it? Like, I'm not blaming the audience for content creators doing crazy shit. I'm not saying that, but you know what I mean.
What you feel within the comments. What do you think content creators should
It's like
be doing?
sometimes when you see
What
a
do
car
think
accident,
Yosta
you
should
can't
be
help
doing?
but look.
And we might also spend another video to talk about what are the marketing tactics that Yosta can do aside from the content creator program.
So lesson of the day is to
That's
start
all that I have
generating
to
as
say.
much drama as
See you next
possible.
one. Bye bye.